Coming to you from an undisclosed location, somewhere deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains, I am your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. UFOs are real, burgeoning, not going away. We're going to be talking about Walter T. Haut's sealed affidavit opened up after he passed away from this earth. So we'll get into that first. A word from our very trusted sponsor. As we wrap up 2025, it's a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there's one thing we've all learned, it's that uncertainty isn't temporary. It's the world we live in now. Waiting for things to go back to normal isn't a plan, it's a gamble. For over a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments have helped Americans just like you protect themselves and the people they love by diversifying their wealth with gold and silver. Look, nobody knows what 2026 will bring. One thing is for sure. In an uncertain world, real wealth isn't digital, it's physical. It's lasting, and it's yours. When you're sitting around the table this holiday season, surrounded by family, remember, the best gift you can give isn't under the tree. It's peace of mind. And that's what Noble Gold delivers, peace of mind. 1 ounce at a time. Before the year ends, take one smart step toward a safer future. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Get your free wealth protection kit today. noblegoldinvestments.com. Don't leave the future to chance. Peggy and I have invested some of our money in Noble Gold, and I got to tell you, folks, we're really glad we did. However, as with any investment, there's always a risk. Please weigh the risks and carefully consider investing in Noble Gold. Once again, that's noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. We invested, and I'm really glad we did. So here's something to think about. January, by the way, but even before I get to that, if you've not seen the film Age of Disclosure, rent it, watch it. You need to check that film out because they are promulgating what I call the coming Great Deception. There, you've got congressmen and women coming on the record. You've got ex-military pilots, it's the whole gamut. And all these folks are stating on the record that the UFO, UAP phenomenon is real. That's why we're doing this, the conference that's coming up January 16th, January 17th. Tim Alberino, Mondo Gonzalez, Josh Peck, Derek Gilbert, Karen Wilkinson, author, a lifelong abductee till she came to Jesus, was impregnated by them 3 times. So don't tell me there's no physicality to this thing. And then years later, they appeared to her. It's all in the film that we have. It's a virtual conference, $19.99. You get access to Friday and Saturday. There'll be a Q&A on Saturday afternoon. I'll answer the questions. The first 200 people get an autographed copy of this book for free. Think about it. Why am I doing this? The word needs to get out. The second 200 people get $10 off the book. Usually we sell it for $23. So it's a great deal. Great deal. And, $19.99, well, you'll have access. Right now, the link is not up, I don't think. Maybe by the time this is released, it will be, but it'll be up this week, and January 16th and 17th. So Vicki Joy Anderson will be speaking. Like I said, Derek Gilbert. I've already interviewed Tim Alberino. You're going to find that really interesting. And others will be joining us. Alan DiDio will be presenting. So we're really excited about this. It needs to be done, and I think a virtual conference is the way to go. Why? You don't have to drive anywhere, no hotel expenses, and for $20, right, you can sit in your pajamas and watch the whole thing on Friday and Saturday and eat popcorn and have a good time. So there you go. All right, let's get into this. Before I even discuss it, here's my caveat to you. There's no way to determine whether this affidavit was constructed by Walter G. Haut. He signed it, allegedly. He signed it, but we don't know. Is this real? We have no idea. And this is problematic with all of this. You get people on the record. Roswell was nothing more than a weather balloon. Blah, 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 blah. What was it? What was it? We went out to the site, and those of you, you've seen me hold this little thing up. Thank you, Chuck Sikowski. Thank you, Frank Kindler. My business partner, Gil Zimmerman, and I are out there. And Frank had a metal detector, so did Chuck. Frank's metal detector, hey, guys, it goes off. He goes, guys, I got a hit. We go running over. It's all on film. And we actually show Frank Kindler digging up this piece of metal. So Frank has a piece of metal, Chuck has a piece of metal, and Chuck gave us a piece of metal. All 3 of us went to 3 different labs. No collusion between them. It's an aluminum alloy that's between two known aluminum alloys. So what is it? If you're an electrical engineer that lives around the Los Angeles area, please contact me. We want to put a charge on this thing and see if it unfolds. We want to see if it's got any properties that might be anomalous. So we're trying to get that done. So if you're an electrical engineer, la@lamarzulli.net. Again, my caveat, I don't know whether this is real or not, whether it's a construct, whether part of it's real, but I'm going to read it. And just so you know, I was in Hangar 84, and our film's on Roswell. We are there. We are in Hangar 84, like a kid in a candy store, because I saw stuff like that when I was a teenager. All these, exposés that they used to have with Leonard Nimoy and who knows who. But, and then later on with the Ancient Aliens show, I believe they talked about Roswell. So, date December 26, 2002. My name is Walter T. Haut. I was born on June 2nd, 1922. My address, Roswell, New Mexico. I am retired. In July 1947, I was stationed at the Roswell Army Air Force Base in Roswell. It's actually Roswell Army Air Base because there is no Air Force at that moment, okay? And you remember the 509th, which we'll talk about a little bit later, the 509th bombing group is the bombing group that dropped the two atomic bombs, one on Hiroshima, the other one on Nagasaki. So let's continue. Serving as the base public information officer. That's true. Absolutely true. I had spent the 4th of July weekend, Saturday the 5th and Sunday the 6th at my private residence about 10 miles north of the base, which was located south of town. I was aware that someone had reported the remains of a downed vehicle by mid-morning after my return to duty at the base on Monday, July 7th. I was aware that Major Jesse A. Marcel, head of intelligence, was sent by the base commander. I just want to say something here. So we have a film. We're the only film company that I'm aware of that's ever done this. It's called Exoneration. So we interviewed Jesse Marcel Jr.'s widow. We got information. And right here, you see the classic picture with Marcel and the weather balloon. The whole thing was a cover-up story. That's what we believe. So Exoneration, there it is. And we're going to be showing both films, Roswell and Evidence from a Debris Field, at the January 16th, 17th virtual conference. So for $19.99, right, for basically $20, you get all these incredible information from the speakers. Plus, we're going to show at least two films, probably 3 or 4 in the midst of that. So it's a great deal. Why are we doing this? We want to get the word out. Tell your pastor, get your family, because we got some of the world's leading experts from a Christian perspective talking about this phenomena. Okay, let's continue. I was aware that someone had reported the remains of a downed vehicle by mid-morning after return to duty at the base Monday, July 7th. I was aware that Major Jesse A. Marcel, head of intelligence, was sent by the base commander, Colonel William Blanchard, to investigate. By late in the afternoon that same day, I would learn that additional civilian reports came in regarding a second site just north of Roswell. I would spend the better part of a day attending to my regular duties, hearing little, if anything, more. So what this is, and Chuck Zukowski in our film on Roswell, in the debris field, is a skip site. The craft comes in, it hits the ground and skips. This is where Jesse Marcel was. This is where the craft comes in and hits the ground and leaves the debris and then travels 16, 17 miles to the other site where it finally lands. That's where they saw the bodies. That's where the actual craft was retrieved. What Jesse Marcel Sr. saw was the first place where the craft hit. Okay, let's continue. On Tuesday morning, July 8th, I would attend the regularly scheduled staff meeting at 7:30 a.m. Besides Blanchard, Marcel, Captain Sheridan Cavant, Colonel James I. Hopkins, the operations officer, Major Patrick Saunders, the base adjutant, Major Isidore Brown, the personal officer, and it continues naming names, Ulysses S. Nero, the supply officer from the Carswell Air Force in Fort Worth, Texas, Blanchard's boss, Brigadier General Roger Ramey, and his chief of staff, Colonel Thomas J. Dubose, were also in attendance. The main topic of the session was reported by Marcel and Cavett regarding an extensive debris field in Lincoln County, approximately 75 miles northwest of Roswell. That's called the debris field. And I have been to that debris field. That's where we found the piece of metal, but I digress as usual. A preliminary briefing was provided by Blanchard about the second site, approximately 40 miles north of town. Samples of the records were passed around the table. It was unlike any material I had or have ever seen in my life. Pieces which resembled metal foil, paper thin yet extremely strong, and pieces with unusual markings along their length were handled from man to man, each voicing their opinion. No one was able to identify the crash debris. If that's true, the cover story of the weather balloon is 110% nonsense. It's total BS. That's what it is. And yet, there are films that insist, oh, it's just a weather balloon. To think that see, this is what bothers me. The people who made that film, and I'm not going to disparage them, they can make whatever they want to make, but we have the right, as Americans, at least right now, to push against that and say, no, we're not buying that. Just like you have the right to listen to what I'm saying right now and go, well, Marzulli, you're wearing your tinfoil hat. And I may be, I don't know. I don't think so. It was not a weather balloon. To think that Jesse Marcel Sr., the intelligence officer of the 509th Bombing Group, would mistake material of unknown origin for a weather balloon is patently absurd. He handled them all day long. We have a clip in our film on Roswell, which Marcel is out in the debris field, probably for the first time in decades. He's an old man by this time. Old man. And he says that, they were at the press conference and they wanted me to speak, but that's not what I did. I wasn't comfortable with that. So he wasn't going to speak to the press. So General Ramey did the whole thing, and he said it was a weather balloon. And Marcel looks right at the camera. But we both knew differently. Why? Because they're handling pieces of the wreckage here. Pieces which resembled metal foil, paper thin yet extremely strong. And pieces with unusual markings along their length were handled from man to man, each voicing their opinion. No one was able to identify the crash debris. One of the main concerns discussed at the meeting was whether we should go public or not with the discovery. General Ramey proposed a plan, which I believe originated with his bosses at the Pentagon. Attention needed to be diverted from the more important site north of town by acknowledging the other location. Too many civilians were already involved, and the press already was informed. I was not completely informed how this would be accomplished. At approximately 9:30 a.m., Colonel Blanchard phoned my office and dictated the press release of having in our possession a flying disc coming from a ranch northwest of Roswell, and Marcel flying the material to higher headquarters. I was to deliver the news release to radio stations KGFL and KSWS and the newspaper The Daily Record and the Morning Dispatch. I've got pictures, I've got replicas of the Daily Record from Roswell. By the time the news had hit the wire services, my office was inundated with phone calls from around the world. Messages stacked up upon my desk, and rather than deal with the media concern, Colonel Blanchard suggested that I go home and hide out. Before leaving the base, Colonel Blanchard took me personally to Building 84. This is where we are when we talk about in the debris field here. When we're in the debris field, there's a scene where we're actually in Hangar 84. And it was incredible to actually film in there. And I want to thank Bull for allowing us to do that if he's watching. So let's continue. Before leaving the base, Colonel Blanchard took me personally to Building 84, a B-29 hangar located on the east side of the tarmac. Upon first approaching the building, I observed that it was under heavy guard, both outside and inside. Once inside, I was permitted from a safe distance to first observe the object just recovered from north of town. It was approximately 12 to 15 feet in length, not quite as wide, about 6 feet high, and more of an egg shape. Lighting was poor, but its surface did appear metallic. No windows, portholes, wings, tail section, or landing gear was visible. Also from a distance, I was able to see a couple of bodies under a canvas tarpaulin. Only the heads extended beyond the covering, and I was not able to make out any features. The heads did appear larger than normal, and the contour of the canvas over the bodies suggested the size of a 10-year-old child. In the film, Exoneration, when we're talking to one of Jesse Marcel Jr.'s friends, is a medical doctor, and he states on the record, how many times do we have to hear this? The size of a 10-year-old boy, over and over and over again. The grays look like about the size of a 10-year-old boy, and that's what was recovered. At a later date in Blanchard's office, he would extend his arm about 4 feet above the floor and to indicate the height. I was informed of a temporary morgue set up to accommodate the recovered bodies. That allegedly may have been in Hangar 84 in the back. We actually go into that room in the film. There's nothing there, obviously, after decades. Are you kidding me? You know? But we were back in the room when we filmed there. Upon his return from Fort Worth, Major Marcel described to me taking pieces of the records to General Ramey's office, and after returning from the map room, finding the remains of a weather balloon and radar kite substituted while he was out of the room. Marcel was very upset over the situation. He would not discuss it again. Jesse Marcel Sr., in our opinion, was a patsy. Absolutely 110% a patsy. And that's why we created the film Exoneration, to exonerate, to try to help clear his name. You know, he was a man that was doing his duty, and he was the fall guy, in our opinion. And we're sticking to that. I would be allowed to make at least one visit to one of the recovery sites during the military cleanup. I would return to the base with some of the records, which I would display in my office. I was aware 2 separate teams would return to each site months later for periodic searches for any remaining evidence. If it's a weather balloon, why are they doing this, right? I am convinced that what I personally observed was some type of craft and its crew from outer space. I have not been paid nor given anything of value to make the statement, and it is the truth to the best of my recollection. The statement is to remain sealed and secured until the time of my death, at which time my surviving family will determine its disposition. Signed, Walter G. Haut, December 26, 2002. Witness to Roswell, that's the source, Tom Carey, Donald Schmidt. Witness to Roswell, 2007. Again, the caveat, the naysayers will say this is a construct. I don't know. I have no idea. I will tell you this. In my opinion, it rings true. And I'm not saying that because I'm a believer. I'm saying it because he's got details that we cross-reference with the Marcel family. And they jibe. They jibe like this. They dovetail together. Folks, the UFO phenomenon is real. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, we have 10 films on this. My business partner, Gil Zimmerman, and I, 10 films. That's the Conbergaz UFO, by the way. Best UFO film I've ever seen, taken by the late Dr. Roger Lear, and it's in our Best of Watchers series. You can stream it, streaming at lamarzulli.net. You can stream all the films. And right now is a great way to do it because we've got great sales on the website until the 20th of December, Black Friday stuff. So the deal is this, guys. The UFO phenomenon is real. And the fact, if you've not seen Age of Disclosure, director Dan Farrow, you need to watch that film. It's on, I believe, Prime Video, but it's everywhere. Just Google Age of Disclosure. It's $20. Watch it. You really need to watch it. So we're going to be doing a counter argument, and this is why we're holding the conference, virtual conference, on January 16th, January 17th. So again, Tim Alberino, Derek Gilbert, Vicki Joy Emerson, Karen Wilkinson, Alan DiDio, Mondo Gonzalez, possibility of Gary Stearman, not sure about that. Alan Matthews will be doing a special cameo, and others, hopefully. So it's Friday night, the 16th, pretty much all day Saturday. Send in your questions and via email, via special email, and I will try to answer them at the end of that conference. Again, the first 200 people that sign up for the conference, it's $20. You get an autographed copy of Rungs of Disclosure absolutely free. The second 200 people that sign up, you get $10 off. So we're giving away 200 of them, but then, 50% off the next 200. Why are we doing this? I believe time is very, very short. I really do. I'm not a date setter, but maybe we go up next Wednesday. Remember, the New Agers have already explained the way the rapture of a church. This is channeled information. Anything you buy, we give this little track, What is the Truth? I want to thank my friend Brad Myers for getting that together. There is a potential for many people to leave the planet in an afternoon. The people who leave the planet during a time of earth changes do not fit here any longer, and they are stopping the harmony of the earth. They've already explained the way the rapture of the church. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall be changed. In a moment or the twinkling of an eye, the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised imperishable. For the perishable must put on imperishable, and the mortal immortality. The Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, with the trump of God. The dead in Christ will rise first, and we who are alive and remain will be caught up together with those in the clouds to greet the Lord in the air, and so evermore we shall be with the Lord. 1 Thessalonians 4:16. It's going to happen. We could be in the window of time because you can't fix this anymore. With the advent of AI and the UFO disclosure, I mean, seriously, it'll be like the days of Noah. Jesus warns us, men faint for fearful is coming upon the earth. This is why we're doing the conference on the 16th and the 17th. Get the word out. Thanks for watching. Don't wait for YouTube to tell you we're back, because we do a show here every single day. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for becoming a member. For a little under $10 a month, you become a member. Members, by the way, are getting 50% off on everything in the store. So there you go. Thanks for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow. God bless you. UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. This is the coming great deception.